Hello and welcome to the Nurse Rosa's Insights podcast. I'm your host, Rosa Hart, and today I am joined by Dr. AJ Blood. Welcome, sir.
Thanks so much for having me.
I have been so excited for Dr. Blood and Nurse Rosa to get together, but may I call you AJ?
You absolutely may.
Fantastic. So, we are talking today because you are not just a regular critical care or cardiology doctor. You are also a clinical trialist who is not satisfied with the status quo, but you have developed a software and an AI program that can help you find clinical trial participants, right?
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah, we're
Well,
really excited about it.
I can't wait to hear more about this. So tell us about AI with care, what it is, and how it works.
Absolutely. So AI with care really comes from what my lab has been working on for the past couple of years at this point. And as a clinical trialist, a lot of our time and effort goes into finding just the right patients for a clinical trial or a protocol that we have that we're running. And what that means is a lot of the time and effort that my team spends is opening charts and kind of one by one for each inclusion and exclusion criteria, like a checklist, going through and finding the right tab in that electronic health record or the right echo report or lab value or medicine or just the right note that explains why something was done or not done for a patient. And that takes a lot of time and effort, and it takes a lot of time and effort from people who are clinically savvy, really trained experts in
Yeah.
clinical trials. And unfortunately, and this is my fault, when doctors are putting in orders and ordering tests and medicines and labs, we have to justify those. And the way that we do that is by putting in diagnostic codes and other, justifications to our friends on the payer side who can say, yes, that is a valid reason for getting that test or for that medicine to be used for that patient or for that test to be to ordered or done. And so I'll just give an example. As a cardiologist, a lot of times I'm seeing my lovely patients and they're telling me about some chest pains they've been having. And I say, all right, well, I really want to understand a little bit better. Is this from your heart or is it not from your heart? And one way that we do that is with a stress test.
Mhm.
And our lovely friends in the insurance side say, well, I don't want stress tests just on everybody. I want stress tests on people who really need one. And understandably, the good reason to get a stress test is because you think there could be underlying coronary disease. So when I order a stress test, I have to say it's because I think there's underlying coronary disease. How, unfortunately, I've now tagged that patient's chart forever and ever with coronary disease. Now, I don't know that they have coronary disease. I'm concerned they might, and that's why I'm doing the test. But
Yeah.
unfortunately, the way medical data and coding works, forever and ever, that patient's going to have coronary disease tagged to their chart. And so when we look for people who are, good candidates for a coronary disease study, even if that stress test was negative for that lovely patient, their chart gets flagged. And if you scale that across all sorts of different healthcare providers and all sorts of different disease areas, we have the world that we live in medical data, which is it's a messy, confusing environment with a lot of false positives and false negatives. And we've been really fortunate that artificial intelligence has been able to help accelerate and really transform the way that some of this work can be done. But that's really what we're doing with AI with care, is taking the amazing advances that we're seeing with this technology and making it applicable and easy to use for clinicians, clinical trial study staff, our sponsors in the pharmaceutical and device industry, so that we can really take these new innovations and get them to patients sooner by getting their trials done faster and really finding those right patients for the right protocols so that we can understand and really study how well we can make things better for patients and for our healthcare community.
So, did you always want to be a researcher?
It's a great question. So I started as an undergraduate at Johns Hopkins University in Baltimore, and I really was a what we call a bench researcher. So I was sitting at the lab, I was sitting with mice and brain cells and studying transcription factor regulation for neural development. This was feels like a lifetime ago. I actually spent a few years at the NIH as a postdoc fellow. Again, years at the bench with microscopes and pipettes, and I did learn at that time I was not bench research and wet lab research was not where I really got my kicks. And I did transition as I went through my medical training more into clinical research. again, fortuitous to have some really great mentors and colleagues when I was at Duke University in the Duke Clinical Research Institute, to learn a lot about clinical research and really kind of where the rubber meets the road, these incredible innovations that are discovered at the bench in the wet lab. I wanted to be a little bit closer to the patient and being able to really understand how does this impact real live people was really important to me. And so I got clinical research training when I was at Duke, and again the Duke Clinical Research Institute, and then fortunate to come to Brigham and Women's, where we've got some of the international leaders in clinical trial design and conduct, really being able to take the next step to that leadership level and kind of intellectual leadership, where we can really take these trials and understand how they are done, how they're designed, how they're interpreted, the statistics and methods behind those, and really being in a position where I could run some of these trials, and really just incredible opportunities, incredible mentorship. The Timmy Study Group here at Brigham and Women's Hospital, my mentor, was instrumental in giving me these opportunities so that I can learn how this is done and how it's done well. And timing is everything in life. Being in a place and in a position where artificial intelligence is revolutionizing so many fields. Really, in healthcare, we like to be very thoughtful, very methodological, very
Yeah.
contemplative about how and when we integrate new tools and technologies, but being able to do that in a very steadfast way with the right oversight, with the right controls, with the right people and systems in place to make sure that it's done appropriately, safely, clinically, in a reasonable and recognizable way that we're used to doing things, so that we can make sure that this is actually making a really positive impact for the patients or providers who live and work in this space, so that we can take some of these amazing new technologies, drugs, and devices and get them to patients sooner, but doing it in a safe and responsible way.
Do you think that working in cardiology already showed you so much the power that AI can play in um, really making a difference in patients, like in real time? Because we have AI that interprets EKGs, and we will send people home after a stroke with a heart monitor to look for atrial fibrillation. And if it wasn't for algorithms and different AI methods. Like, I feel like cardiology has kind of been leading the pack in that way. Do you feel like that led you into this research?
I think, yeah, you're absolutely right. I think cardiology is at this really cool intersection where, a lot of in the early days, radiology was always thought to be where AI was really going to have a huge impact early on. And,
Well,
and it absolutely is.
they need to rest their eyeballs, sir. I mean,
There's
they
a
can't
ton
even
of
think about all the imaging they have to look at.
You're absolutely right. And, I think it's such a data intensive field where
Yeah.
pattern recognition is so important. They certainly were at the forefront, really the tip of the spear in integrating some of this new and amazing technology. Cardiology, however, was very, very close behind. And for those same reasons, right? EKGs, echocardiograms. Now we've got coronary CTAs, we've got PET scans, we've got cardiac MRIs. So cardiology really lives in this amazing space where cardiac imaging, which
Hmm.
is really a branch of radiology in some ways, but really a lot of which is done by cardiologists,
Right.
um, was a really important fast follow behind our friends in radiology. And you're right, there's so much incredible data that we're finding time and time again lives in that the richness of that EKG, the richness of that patch monitor, the richness of that echocardiogram, that even as an incredibly well-trained cardiologist with years or decades of experience, there's hidden insights in there that no human eye can really see and extract. So being at a place at a time where cardiology really is now in terms of picking up and running with it, I think having learned a lot from our colleagues in radiology, we are really excited to be taking this new technology and really implementing it. And I think that's where cardiology really does shine in implementation science and really the hard work that goes into taking a new tool or technology and making it part of routine standard practice, and studying it and publishing it and making it an academically rigorous way that we're doing things. Cardiology really is has been leading that data driven science for many years now, and I think we're really well situated to help deliver that at scale and in many ways with this new technology.
Yeah. So, do you think that, or can you share with us any stories of times when you were developing AI with care, when you were able to identify people who were good candidates for these clinical trials that probably would have fallen through the cracks and not gotten the opportunity to participate in the trials otherwise?
Yeah, it's a great question, and I think that's something that we're, really excited to be able to take to the patients here at Mass General Brigham, but also again to many other researchers and clinicians around the world with the technology that we have now with AI with care. And so what we are able to do is, we can read through reams of notes and reports and echoes and EKGs and CAT scans that it would take, sometimes hours for clinical study staff to get through. So, we really did focus on doing this in a data-driven way and an evidence-based way. So we really started with the first publication, the New England Journal AI, where we looked at, how could this perform retrospectively against a clinical trial assessment that we'd done of a couple thousand patients in a trial that I was enrolling for here at Brigham and Women's. And what we were able to then demonstrate was that we could quickly, accurately, and cost effectively perform as well or better than our clinical study staff in terms of finding those eligible patients. And so that's some peer reviewed evidence at a high level. We then did a prospective blinded randomized control trial. So a trial within a trial. Again, using heart failure as a use case, but just as an example, I happen to be a cardiologist. I happen to be running a heart failure trial. The tool was not trained or specified for cardiovascular or cardiology in any special way. But what we did with that was we then said we're going to take our AI enabled tool and give that to half the team, the good old fashioned clinical manual review for the other half of the team, and let's see who ends up with more enrollments at the end of the day. We
So,
published those.
can I
Oh,
ask a
pardon.
question about that?
Of course you can.
So, was part of the double blind not telling the humans that had to like go through everything manually that there was an AI they were missing out on? So they weren't just
Mm.
like bitter as they were looking through everything.
S- So we tried to be fair both to the study and to the study staff. So we actually ended up taking both groups and allowing them to flip flop throughout the course of the
You
trial.
did? Oh, that's
Yeah.
great. Okay, that
Yes.
had to be a morale booster because
It did. Well, I will say you're absolutely right, but we did get more than one comment throughout the course of the trial that can we just end this trial already and only use the AI? So there certainly is a morale boosting aspect.
well, and then you're controlling for like maybe you put all the best manual reviewers on one side, right? And so if you used everyone that you normally would have used, then that was still another quality assurance, right?
Exactly. And that's, part of doing high quality research is trying to make it as fair as possible. So making sure that we're, blinding people who are getting enrolled to which arm reviewed the patients, was
Mhm.
AI enabled or not, but then also giving everybody the same amount of time in both arms. So it's not just the really high quality team versus the slightly less high quality team, but really balancing those factors as much as we can to make sure it's a fair comparison. And yeah, what we saw at the end of the publication was, we published this in the JAMA journal, and this showed just about a doubling of clinical trial enrollments. And again, in a prospective blinded randomized controlled trial, a significant p-value, and really excited then to say we're ready to bring this out to other research teams to bring this type of tool and technology to make clinical studies, clinical research more efficient, more representative of the patient populations we're aiming to enroll by making that screening process much more rapid and high quality. But again, making sure we're giving access to clinical trials to anybody who would want to participate in them. And I think that's something that a lot of times there's not equitable access to clinical trials based on where patients are seen or where their clinicians are practicing. We're really trying to make this as accessible as possible, making it really easy for patients to partake in research is so important because I think there's just so many barriers that are in the way. Making this something that is really seamless for patients and primary investigators of these trials is really important to us.
So let me clarify something that you said earlier about you doubled the clinical trial participants over what you normally would have had. Is that what you said?
Well, we had the good old fashioned manual review in one arm, and then we had the AI enabled review in another arm. So this really was kind of a parallel, who's enrolling faster, those with access to the tool or those without access to the tool. So it wasn't compared to just what we saw historically. It was kind of
Okay.
live, prospective, and we did kind of double that enrollment curve, 84% increase to be precise, over the non AI enabled team, to get more patients enrolled into the trial. So we were able to find eligible patients much more quickly as our primary endpoint. As you would expect, AI can help with a lot of that data synthesis and appropriate patient identification. But then taking that information and saying, well, we're going to actually enroll many more patients of those we found to be eligible is a bit of a higher bar. It takes a little bit more to not just find eligible patients, but get them enrolled into a study, signing a consent. So being able to do that with our AI enabled tool is something that we were really excited about. And again, has many more benefits in the long term to get people participating in research and get trials done faster.
Yeah, and when I was speaking with Celine from Massive Bio, we were talking about how they're doing something similar with AI to find people who have cancer diagnoses who might be a good clinical trial or be able to match them with clinical trials in oncology that otherwise they'd have to hunt and peck and apply individually and streamline it all into one place. And of
Hmm.
course, you're talking about a study on heart failure specifically. But I think you're right that there's such a huge barrier to entry to participating in clinical trials. Like you said, just the delay. A lot of the people who could really benefit from it, they're sick and they need help. And if they may not even be able to afford help, and if they can get that help in the form of a clinical trial that's not going to cost them anything, then that would be a huge relief to them, and, I mean, I would hope in some cases save their lives. So, I mean, if you're having twice as many people able to enroll in something, then not only is that research done sooner, proving the efficacy so you can roll it out to the general public, but the people who can benefit from it in the trial period, like, my the touch point for me is my one of my mentors passed away of a glioblastoma, and those things they grow really fast, and so if you want to apply to be in a trial and it takes months, you may not have that long to even be able to participate. And so anything that can expedite the process to allow people access to these cutting edge or even in your case like bleeding edge treatments, um, I'm all for it, and I'm so thankful for developments like this.
Yeah, we're excited to bring it to many more patients, researchers, and partners in the space so that we can, you're exactly right, get these effective, new, innovative therapies out to as many patients as we can, as quickly as we can, because time is of the essence. We really want to be there helping them as quickly as we are able to.
And just to be clear, this is not something that is going to only stay available at Mass General, Brigham and Women's. This is something you're going to be spinning out to other hospitals as well. Does that mean you're able to start your own company, or does Mass General own AI with Care? How does that work?
Yeah, it's a great question. So, my lab within Mass General Brigham was where we built this. Again, my partner and collaborator Ben Sirica with the Timmy Study Group is the director of the lab. I'm the associate director of the Accelerator for Clinical Transformation. We took the tool and technologies that we developed within Mass General Brigham and are now bringing this out to other researchers, hospitals, health centers, contract research organizations, site networks, through the lens of a company called AI with Care. So the company, because we spun out of Mass General Brigham, is using intellectual property that our team developed internal to Mass General Brigham. So they are part of this company, but it really is many of the researchers, the designers, the developers within my lab, as well as some additional team members that we've built along the way over the course of the past year or so, that we've been taking this tool and preparing it to come outside to the general public so that we can really make this available to many more patients and researchers. And that again is in that company that we call AI with Care, that spun out of Mass General Brigham.
So, have you always wanted to be a business owner?
It was not the way that I thought things were going to go. As a clinical trialist and a researcher, my hope and thought was that this was going to be something I did, as my lab, and really did this under the academic lens and umbrella. But I found, as I was looking to take this to more collaborators and colleagues around the country and around the world, that yeah, to be able to move fast, to be able to help as many people as quickly as we can, and again, this is not casting stones by any stretch of the imagination, but large enterprise organizations don't always move extremely quickly, and especially under the legal lens, it can be challenging to contract as a large enterprise organization. So, being able to do that under the lens of a new company was certainly a more nimble way to move forward. And I think to be able to help as many people as we can, I think that was what we felt was the most effective way to do it.
I love that. Well, AJ, this brings us to the $1 billion question. Are you ready? Sharp
I'm
intake.
ready.
Okay. If you were given a grant for $1 billion to meet a need that you see in healthcare, how would you like to see it used strategically to have the most sustainable impact?
Such a great question. The $1 billion question, as it were. So I really do think, so I'm a cardiologist. I practice critical care. I'm also board certified in obesity medicine. So if we're talking about a population scale and long-term quality and quantity of life improvement, I really do think that using funds like that to increase access to high quality cardiovascular prevention, as well as management of overweight and obesity and all of its downstream effects on chronic health conditions, everything from osteoarthritis to cancer, and really everything in between, heart disease, diabetes. I think being able to take some of the innovations we've seen with AI, some of the innovations we've seen with the management of overweight and obesity, and combining them in a comprehensive cardiometabolic prevention program that can reach many more patients more effectively and at scale is the way that I would deploy those resources to help as many people enjoy happy, healthy lives as we can.
Well, if you want to partner in designing that, let's do it, okay? Because I think you hit on the nail on the head. Like, the way you prevent all those things is really the same. The same things prevent cancer, that prevent heart disease and stroke, and more people die of heart disease and stroke than all forms of cancer combined, as I like to remind people. We just haven't had a sexy marketing campaign like Susan G. Komen. Um, but whatever you're doing to prevent cancer, if you're like eating the Mediterranean diet and exercising and things like that, that's all going to contribute to that healthy lifestyle. And yeah, we should use AI. I mean, because what gets measured gets addressed, right? So if we're measuring, am I getting enough exercise? If we're measuring what we're eating and things like that and tracking our trends, that visibility, especially like in wearables and things like that, can really help people meet new healthy goals. But yeah, if you want to build a new company one day, you let me know because I'm all in.
Let's we're gonna take this to a sidebar. I'm excited about it. It's definitely a passion area. You've got a huge reach and great passion and ideas. So let's dive into this. We'll get that $1 billion grant. And we'll run with it.
That's right. Exactly. And then, I love talking to you, but I know we are both parents and we have to go take care of our children. So we're going to have to wrap up. But if people want to reach out to you and learn more about AI with care and more about your research, where's the best place to find you?
Yeah, so I still am an active clinical trialist and researcher. So in my academic hat, the letter A, my last name Blood, at BWH, Brigham and Women's Hospital, .harvard.edu. And for a company hat, if you're looking to collaborate in a trial or in accelerating research for your institution or organization, it's just AJ, my first and last initial there, at aiwithcare.com. So really excited to connect, and thanks so much for your time and attention.
Yeah.
Thanks for having
And
me,
then
Miss Rosa.
and you're on Instagram too, aren't you?
Yes, you can find me. It's AJ Blood MD on X. You can also find me on LinkedIn and Instagram. It's Alexander J Blood. So thank you so much, and yeah, you can find me in all those venues. Appreciate it.
And then you can follow me on all the social platforms at Nurse Rosa Speaks. And then if you know someone else who is a world changer who needs a spotlight shown on their amazing work, or they have a great idea that just needs to be heard so somebody else can work on it, please email me at info@nurserosaspeaks.com. I'm also on LinkedIn. I'll link that in the show notes along with AJ's contact information, because in a world where it's all who you know, we want you to be able to know us. So, all right. Thank you so much for listening. And make sure you like and subscribe wherever you're listening or if you're watching on YouTube. And I'll see you in the next episode.